the Hoosier Triplets, a trio of Indiana authors road tripping through the romance genre and sharing what we love and learn. Welcome to our podcast.
So you're with the Hoosier Triplets, the lovely Ava Cuvée, Cindy Tanner, and me, Melanie Jane. And next thing we're going to discuss, hopefully, and not go off on really weird tangents, is what to do as an author when you are stuck. Because it always happens. And some people have tried and true things that they do. Others just sit in the corner and cry.
Get in the fetal position.
Yeah. Or they just stop writing forever. Mm-hmm. And I do know somebody that actually did that. They just stopped. It was too hard.
That sounds like me these days. So you mentioned a philosophy. I'll be honest, it's the first I've heard of this. And maybe I do this subconsciously, but what's it called?
A marry, fuck, or kill. So you don't know what to do. You have your characters get married or move towards the romance. They have a sex scene, they fuck, or you kill somebody. And I love a wedding scene. I can write the hell out of a wedding scene. I love them. I think I was I should have been a wedding planner, but then I would have to care about other people.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like all about the kill. I want to kill people all the time. I have a list of who I want to kill.
Well,
characters,
so
not people.
With the marry in a romance, it kind of happens at the end, right?
Right. I think they were using it more just as the
Major step
get them together,
okay.
have like the discussion,
mm-hmm.
or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, or have a baby. I mean, right now there are a lot of somehow people get pregnant. I don't understand in 2025 how we have all these unplanned pregnancies, especially if it's a reverse harem. I mean, how does that happen? And they're always billionaires.
Oh,
they
billionaires.
have Look at Elon. How many kids does he have? I guess they got the good spunk.
Yeah, I mean, if you can afford to,
What is it? Something he is worried about, the world population declining, and as it stands now, every woman would have to have 8.2 kids or something for our population to be where it needs to be.
Wasn't it Nick Cannon wants to have 30 kids?
I don't know.
I'm good with 2.
I'm fine with 1.
I stick with the dog.
Yeah.
I'm doing just fine, dog.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so you kill off your characters. Or kill off
marry.
Well, mating. There, we did have one wedding. He gave her a wedding, but I'm now burning more towards the kill. I have in the next Novus Pack book, I'm killing a major secondary character, and it's going to make people cry.
Well, that makes sense because you have your violent werewolves. So killing off somebody would be. I mean, maybe not enough to make them cry, but yeah.
Oh no. I'm going to make you cry. I mean, Cindy's going to be a 2 Kleenex box, or it's a failure.
2 Kleenex box.
It's going to be a
no
failure.
lotion, just a Kleenex box.
Just a Kleenex box. Yeah. So that's the kill portion. With the lotion, it would be the fuck portion.
So yeah, I marry, fuck, or kill when I get stuck, but I work hard not to get stuck.
Right.
Very early on, I think before I'd even published, when I was, trying to be good and learning how to be a good author, I came across advice that said have a bear attack if you're stuck. So it's action, some sort of unexpected action. So that's usually where I tend to go, which I'm thinking back and I'm I can tell a few times where I've gotten stuck and there might just be some random action scene. That, or lately I've just been killing people in my books. I don't know why. I'm just
I'm rubbing off on you.
There you go, yeah.
Well, maybe it's because I'm just trying to flex a different muscle,
That's
or
what I haven't been doing.
I have the tendency of sometimes if my personal life, if I'm kind of stressed out, I feel I take the tension and things like that out of my books because you can control those better. But I'm at peace. Everything is happy. So now I'm let's kill some bitches. I don't know.
Let's shake things up.
Yeah.
And in my first book, they all fucked.
because it was like they're on the run in a spaceship, so it's not like there's anything to do. So it was like, oh my gosh, what are they gonna do next? I guess they'll just fuck. Like, oh my gosh, now we've crash landed. What are we gonna do? Well, we're gonna fuck. And I even
we won't search for coverage or food.
Yeah, exactly. Because those are minor issues. But and I tease in that particular book, if you take out all the sex scenes, and I actually did take one out before it got published. If you take out all the sex scenes, it's just a trifold brochure. Because it was my first one. I was like, I don't know what to do. Let's just have sex because they're really hot for each other. And I've kind of stopped doing that so much. But I don't know. I don't know that I get stuck. I guess I do action, but not necessarily a kill or a big car chase or blow up scene, because I get stuck in like my reader's head. So what the action I do is like I force conversation because all my characters are real introverts or something. But yeah, so I'm like, I've been doing like internal POV stuff for too long. We need to get some talking going on.
And they're naked and having sex while they're talking.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, things are blowing up in the background.
Yeah.
Well, see, I try not to have a whole lot of dialogue and sex scenes for the people that like might want to skip them. I think that's because I have gotten more so that depending on the book or my mood, I might skip sex scenes if I'm reading, because it's like, ugh, I know what's going to happen here.
Rade goes into sloppy, I guess.
I freaked a lady out a couple weeks ago when I mentioned that, I rarely read through a complete sex scene, and she was just like shocked and and it's like, I mean, after a while. Well,
and read as many.
Or had as many, but I mean, after a while, it's, okay. I know how this is going to end. They're just going to have the best orgasm of her life.
Ever.
Yes. Never.
Maybe multiple ones.
Never a miss one. And if it's written by Kat Baxter, chances are she's going to squirt. So, you know.
I've only ever written one wedding scene, and it was at the very end, and it was a beta reader suggested that I added one in, and I'm like, yeah, I can do one that makes it fit. But otherwise, I'm just like, yeah, they've declared they love each other, and that's as good as it's getting in my book.
I love a wedding scene, so that's my, that's like my secret happy place. But yeah.
Is it because you love describing the wedding dress?
Yeah. Yeah, and like what music and how like what the ring. Oh, yeah,
really?
Yeah, the whole what the ring like, and how like does he spring it on her and things like. Yeah, I get into the whole thing, and
I'm surprised.
I know. See, I'm secretly at this deep, softy romantic, but nobody knows it.
Because you get werewolves ripping off heads.
Well, and when I was young and single, I was told that I dated like a guy. I hit and quit and move on.
Nothing wrong with that.
That I wasn't like hearts and flowers and all that. I was like,
now when you're imagining weddings and betrothals and things like that, are you hearts and flowers?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Because I mean, to me, there's nothing better than when the big, strong, I only say 4 words at a time, alpha goes all mushy and soft and, begs for her love forever or proclaims his love forever. Oh, yeah, I'm a total softie. Totally. And if I can even get him to get, like, misty-eyed, I've, like, won.
Oh, wow. Well, so I know that in, I'm assuming contemporary, the big thing is the third act breakup.
Yeah, I'm not so...
Does that go with the... Marry, fuck, or kill, or break up?
I feel like that always comes off as so contrived, but I mean it's almost a necessary evil depending on the way the plot line is going.
72 to 74%. I like some authors, I know what's coming. I look down in the corner and it's like 72%. They're gonna blow apart. There's
gonna be a misunderstanding,
and I know that used to be a real marker that contemporary romance had to hit. I mean, and what I always hated about it was, to me, a lot of times it happened too late in the story, and then the ending, like the forgiveness and everything got wound up in like 5 pages, and it's like, well, I don't know, they've already proclaimed their love. They've like been through something, and then they break up. Wouldn't it make more sense if we did it earlier when they were still like finding their footing and
not sure
they,
in their relationship.
But yeah.
I always kind of assume that the reason for the breakup is going to be something that's like immature miscommunication or just assumptions on the part. Like, can't we just be adults and talk about this?
That is like, I just slam my head on the table when it's the miscommunication. And then somebody always has to be drunk with their best friend, and the best friend points it out, and they're just like, oh, what do you mean? And it's like, oh my God, yeah, that's one of those that just makes me throw the book across the room.
I have a book that I'm not in the middle of. I started reading, don't even remember author or the plot or the title or anything. I just remember I think it's like a brother's best friend or something. And so she's in the bar, they leave, and she is like, because she was told to leave because like this isn't her scene or something bad's gonna happen. She gets this whole like, I am a grown, mature woman and I can make my own decisions, turns back around and walks right in, and I'm like, done, because I know that, she's smarter than this. This is a bad decision. She's not even drunk at this point. She's just huffy.
It's like in real life, if somebody has to tell me how smart they are, then I don't think they're that smart. And it's like in a book, if the character has to tell herself or announce it to the room that she's a strong, independent woman, she's not. I mean, it's just like, show, don't tell, don't have her, and unless it's like part of the running joke or something. But yeah.
But I know that this is going to be the impetus for them getting together or whatever, and I'm just like, I can see it coming a mile away. Surely the author could have been a little bit more creative in how they're gonna get together. Like
I personally, I have never understood the taboo of the sibling's best friend. Okay, maybe in high school, because that's gross. I mean, nobody wants to think,
awkward,
but like when they're adults and they've been out in the dating world, and let's say the guy's sister has only dated losers, and his friend has just come back from his tour duty, and he's a great, upstanding guy.
Wouldn't you want your sister?
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't you? I'd be locking them in the basement together with one bed.
You can come out when there's a ring on her finger. Well, and then it's like, okay, maybe the best friend, was an asshole, or played around and hit it and quit it too much in high school. But like, if you're still friends with him,
what does it say about you?
Yeah, shouldn't that either says something about you, or maybe he's like come full circle and can better appreciate a good woman. Like, I don't know.
I always get a little lost in that, like how that works. Now I know in my book Grayson, he finally gets his sister's best friend. But since she was 6 years old, he was like her stand-in father figure. He took the girls to go buy their first bras. Now then I can see why you might have some like issues because like she's really my sister. But otherwise I think a lot of times I'm just like, I don't understand why you wouldn't want them to be together.
Yeah, what's the taboo?
Or sometimes the step siblings, and so many times, but it's like they're already adults.
Yeah.
And then like the parents get married. Or like
so
maybe they've dated before they broke up, now their parents are married, they want to get back together. But like, I can't date my brother. Like, well, move to Kentucky. No, I'm joking. It's not by blood at all. There's not.
Yeah. I find those, I'm like, you're going to have to really sell me on this, like why this is a problem. Yeah. And then, well, I guess it's always weird, like to me, when they say, that's my stepsister and you're both in your 30s. I mean, really? I mean, no, you're just children of my father's new wife. I mean, you didn't live in the same house. You might hit a holiday every once in a while together, but...
But hey, guess what? If you're together as a couple, you're going to go to the family gatherings anyway.
Right.
So... Yeah.
And now you can just sneak off in the bathroom for a quickie.
I think the best taboo... changing the topic midway through. The best taboo category I ever read was Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. And it's because she ends up falling for her boyfriend's dad.
Oh.
So there's like an age gap, and but I mean,
Pat McAfee's getting sued for a story like that.
I was gonna say the boyfriend is kind of like a douche, and he does redeem himself at the end, but it's, I don't know, like I thought that was very sweet, but it's a good, and they're kind of like the things that keep them apart. Like I don't know, they're not annoying things, because it's like believable in the realm of you're having feelings for this, like it's not just an older guy, it is also the father of
The guy you're supposed to be with.
your boyfriend, and then it gets awkward because they end up moving in with the dad because
This is a Steve Wilkos show.
No,
I've seen this on Maury, Jerry Springer, Steve Wilkos. I've read them with the like, it starts as a hate bang, like your best friend marries your dad and you're mad, so you decide to fuck her dad, and it starts, and I'm just like, and that the dad, they're always hot and they're rich. I love it. I mean,
always a hot rich guy. Well, I mean, because if you're just a poor dad, no one really cares. Gotta put that money in, right?
In romance. In real life.
I just read a book where the dad, she's like 5 or 6, and he's an electrician, and it spends a lot of time talking about how, like, her school schedule, he has to, because he has to pick her up and find someone to watch her, and like how it's very intertwined, that he's having to make money, like he's the breadwinner and he has to work to make money. And I was kind of like, I was like, wow, why do I feel like this is really working? Like I'm really having to work to read this. And I was like, because the author's stressing how much he's having to work. And then he turns out to be an audiobook narrator and is bringing in all this cash, because the friend of his new girlfriend is a very, very successful romance author and needs his voice.
Well,
good.
I think that trying to put too many of the mundane, everyday, realistic details in a book really does kind of ruin it, but that's the whole point of it being fiction. I remember struggling in my first series. There was a lot of like driving in the cars, and it's like, well, how much, like they unlock the car, they open the door, they click the, and it's
did they open the door with the right hand or the left hand? Because that's important.
Well, I remember especially like after I went through editors and I got with Delilah, she's like, it was always like, you made too big of a jump here, or you're like way too detailed, and I'm like, I thought, like, where's the middle of the road?
Especially when I first started, I had a really hard time like shifting scenes, and like how to do it fluffily and not just like the next day, 3 months later, I found, to me, that was one of the absolute most difficult things to do in telling a story, was just how to
the transition.
Yeah, the transition, how to do it without over explaining or under explaining, and I get these notes like, oh, they moved, they moved out of the apartment, or
we're in Europe now.
Yeah, and they're still in bed, but it's later, and I'm like, oh my God, but I mean, you learn by doing.
I love writing dual POV, and I really like reading the dual POV too, except when it is like there's no movement, so like it's the same scene on both ones, but it's like recovering the same, like if you're going to give the same scene from like both characters, I need to know what's in the other character's head, like how they took what was just said. And sometimes I feel like it's too easy for an author to just, it's already in their head, they don't need to separate it out by character, and then it's just like you're reading the same chapter twice. And
but from I've had that as well, and my thought was, so we're not going from where the last chapter left off, we're backtracking and doing it, and I'm like, does that really add it's not horribly awkward, but it's enough that I'm like, what is it adding? And can we do this without having to backtrack time?
And sometimes, I was gonna say, I think that makes the best transition, because if you're in your female's like point of view, and then if you've had this dramatic scene or this like big conclusion, sometimes it's the easiest, you switch to the male scene, and it's like, the male's point of view, and it could be the day after, or after, and he, like, it's just like him settling with whatever has come, or vice versa, and it moves it on. You're gonna get his like kind of thought process, or it'll even be like, oh well, she mentioned that she likes flowers, so I'm gonna make sure the next time I I don't know, like you
You can
filter
do it
it
without
in like
having to go
subtly.
back into
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm the dual point of view, and I like to swap back and forth, and oh my God, it used to make me insane because I would get notes. I think this would be more powerful if it was from her point of view and I'd written in his. And it's like, well, now I'm gonna have to go insert something. But then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it, whatever comes next. And nobody's complained to me. Maybe they've complained to Goodreads. But, I mean, so I'm like, I think overall readers want a good story. So, but yeah, I don't like the backing up. And I'll tell you what, going on, the one that I just drives me nuts is the time jumping. When they're due like one chapter 20 years ago when they were in junior high to today to 20 years ago, and it's just like, why, what, and in the 20 years ago, what's real, and nothing's really happening. I mean, like, oh, maybe Billy was mean to her or something, but I mean, it's like, I don't know that this is so important that we have to keep jumping back and forth.
That's like a one scene flashback. That one crucial, horrible childhood memory that really impacted and changed the character for good, bad, or whatever. Yeah.
And I'll tell you the other thing that irritates me. Oh, there are a million things, but is when I'm reading a book and I can tell that the author had like 3 scenes that they really loved, or like one point they really wanted to make, and they've like made the book longer because they needed more space between them, and they've added all this crap, and it's like, just do it, or you could have just like did this in the blurb and we all would have known the story. I mean, don't waste my time on 6 dates at a restaurant and what they drank at the community bar.
That scene, set it aside, change the name, put it in another book.
There's one of Penny Reed's books in the Brothers with the Beards, and I am convinced one book was basically written for one scene, and at the time it was very timely, Black Lives Matter and all that, but I really feel like that's the whole point of this book, and I'm like, I've like really waded through a lot of the story just to get to this. So yeah, that makes me mad.
That's the thing with contemporaries is that, when we used to do the contests and critique the contests, and I'm like, don't tell me he looks like a famous actor, because hopefully the contemporary stays contemporary enough for long enough time that actor is going to start looking old. And the same thing with important things going on, like let's talk about it from not like this specific happening, this specific thing, but maybe the tone or the the personal philosophy that you're taking away from it, incorporated that. But if you're having a Trump rally, that's going to date your book instantly. So it's just like don't do that unless you're going to go back every year and update it to, the new rally or the whatever, because that to me just dates your book too easily.
When I updated the Chain series, when they all got new covers, I got rid of taxis and did, ride share. And, but it was just like, and then it was like, for my first 2, you weren't on the internet on your phone. So they had to keep going to their laptops, so it was like, oh man, and I was like, I'm like, oh my God, am I going to have to update all these books in another couple years? But you don't notice it, especially, because you're living it until you get one, and then you're like, oh my God. Well, if you go back and read books from the 2011, 2012 and all that, the condom talk. Every single book had to have the condom talk and how important it was to use a condom. And a lot of them even had them like they had to get dressed, get out of bed, get dressed, go to the store and buy the condom, and how and how that worked. But I mean, it's so funny because every single book had that. And I remember in one of my first book, I didn't have the condom talk, and that editor that I used at that time, like, shared a lot of dialogue with me about that, and I was like, they're both in their 30s. If they don't understand, like the need for sexual safety, then they're too dumb. I mean, they're not my characters. I just to me that felt really that they didn't have to have that.
I think that cycles too, because I feel like a lot, I've read a few books, I guess I haven't checked when they've been published, when it's maybe not so much the conversation, but you suddenly he moves, and then like you hear the foil or the crinkle, and then he's back.
I don't, unless the oopsie baby is part of the story, I just always assume that they're practicing safe sex until like they've discussed that they're not.
Yeah.
I mean, good thing I'm not a teenager.
I don't know if my books are good.
Well, it's kind of like the safe word conversation in the BDSM books. Like you have to have that conversation. I forget who the gal was who did the presentation at our chapter meeting.
Ravenna.
But Ravenna, that's right. And she was like, she'd written so many. She's like, I'm really kind of tired of the whole. What's your safe word conversation?
I wonder if that's where it comes in handy, where you have like the fill in the blank cut and paste thing, where you can just
change the character name.
Standard boilerplate.
Just get that stamp and chunk it right there. So, yeah, I do know that the one book I was really stuck on was the Tin Toy book. I just could not get past like the 3rd chapter. And that's where I actually I moved chapters around. I took it, if it was in her POV, I changed it to his POV, and that kind of got the ball rolling. So I think maybe not just marry, fuck, or kill, but marry, fuck, or, kill, or,
Start the story in a different spot.
Yeah,
I
change who's talking.
I have, that's a really useful tool, and I think a lot of times it impacts the story so much, rather than always like boy meets girl, how they meet is like we already are in the middle of the hot and heavy. How did it get here?
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, I've had people shot, almost killed in chapter 1. So yeah, I'm a violent.
Well, I mean, you need to get the action going.
Get your inciting incident in there. Get that hook.
Well, and then I shared with my friends that I read a book by a well-known horror author, and it was a vampire story, so right up my alley. And the whole big trigger warning scene that it was basic, because I consider a trigger warning for blood play, and it's a vampire book. I think that's kind of redundant. I mean, blood, but like all the triggers were in the sex scene, and the thing is, the sex scene didn't move the story along. It wasn't necessary. I mean, it was nothing but titillating, and I really felt dirty afterwards. I mean, I really.
That's saying
because of how it was written, or because the blood play trigger.
No, it was just because it's like to me, this author. For me, it cheapened, and I'm like, you pay. I mean, I know the people that she pays to edit her books. Nobody told you that like this doesn't affect the outcome in any way, shape, or form. I mean, it's not even like, it's not even really even discussed, like the surprising part of the night, and it's like, what, huh? I mean,
I think sometimes though that trigger warnings or even like scenes like that, it's supposed to be the shock and awe, because then that's what gets talked about, and then everyone wants to read it for this one scene.
And I even went back to see, because it was a new book to me, but I was like, oh, okay, well maybe she wrote this a few years ago. That might explain some of. No, it's pretty new, and I was just like, wow, I'm really I'm disappointed. And I'm still like today. I'm still mad about it. I need to get. I need to read something
read so
crappy.
Many books that you just like kind of get jaded, and so that scene for everybody else is like whatever.
Well, I think for me, because I read about a book a day, or at least a book every 2 days. So I'm a lot of books. I think when the author is popular, has hit lists, are not a known name to everyone, but known certainly in that genre, and they've lasted several years, I think I do hold them up to a higher standard,
yeah.
and that was part of what disappointed me. This, but I saw the rerun this week on Big Bang Theory, and Sheldon and Amy, they watched one of the Raiders of the Lost, I think the first Raiders movie, and Amy ruined it for Sheldon forever because she pointed out that Indiana Jones really has no bearing on the entire story. You could take him out, and I was just like, oh my god, I'm like even the schedulers on TBS and know that I'm like this could because that author could have knocked out the sex scene and
It would have been
it would have been the same book. There was no reason for it except.
So it wasn't even like the culmination of their growing attraction to each other, and they didn't come out on the other end as their relationship wasn't deeper. They weren't different. Okay, yeah.
Is it like a first in a series? Like to maybe that's going to come into play in the future?
It's not first in a series. It's like second or third, and it's an offshoot of another series. I mean, So I mean, I'm just like, Okay.
The author was drinking with friends, and they dared her, like, you can't do a scene with play. And she's like,
I think she wanted to write a book in the golden age of Hollywood, and she wanted to think of something that was whispered about then but not really talked about, because if you study back the golden age of Fatty Arbuckle and the Coca-Cola bottle rape and that ruined his career, and the Black Dahlia murders and these things, I mean, so I think she really wanted it to be kind of like that forbidden, the seedy things that went on, but it wasn't talked. The PR machines kept it down, and I get that. I was really, I don't know. I just was like, this is like the big scene, and
maybe something like that is better in a visual format, like in film.
I don't know. I'm still upset. I got to read a crappy book to get this crappy book out of my system.
You need a palate cleanser.
Send me recommendations for crappy books.
I have a whole file of DNF you can read.
Well, okay. Sometimes books that I do not like, that I've had books that I have read and I have just hated, and I am ruminating over them for days later, and I'm just but that's kind of the point. So I mean, if it's stuck with you, I mean, obviously you want the good feelings, but.
Have you gone back and a book you remembered as loving, or you thought it was so good, and then you go back and you reread it and you're like, huh?
Well, I'm slated to do a couple of presentations this summer at the Imaginarium event, and so one's my world building presentation, the other one is my Power Up Your Prose. So it's basically.
Where does that event take place and when?
In July in Kentucky somewhere. Check the website. Because that's in July. And one is my Power Up Your Prose, so it's talking about don't reduce filter words and blah 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 and all that stuff. And so I went through the presentation first of all to remind myself that I knew what I was talking about and tweak it and improve it, and then I went back to read one of my comfort reads, and that author did everything that I had just did a presentation on what not to do, and I was so disappointed in myself. I'm like, damn it, I can't even enjoy my comfort reads because now I'm like, you can't do that. Wait, that's a filler word. How did that,
But sometimes the story can be so good that it doesn't matter that it breaks the rules. And I think sometimes because maybe it breaks the rules of writing, and I mean, I feel like they're more like guidelines.
I think so, and I think I'm going to have to put in a preference that a warning. My trigger for that presentation is it may momentarily or long term effect be that you don't get to enjoy the books that you thought you always would enjoy, and also story trumps everything. I am convinced that a good story will trump just about every poor writing technique.
Well, I know that I use so a lot when I speak, and my characters in dialogue use so a lot, and I find that I tend to enjoy books with dialogue that sounds like talks like me more than the ones that don't. I mean, so I think what brings you warm and fuzzies.
So we.
And I take out half the so's and leave them in.
Yeah.
I allow myself one so a page if it's a heavy dialogue.
Look at you.
I use okay a lot. I say okay a lot in my normal life. I write it a lot.
And I write a lot of shoulder shrugging. I need more
Like
body things.
everybody cants their head. Like they canted their head and they chuckle. Like those are the two things that make all of my characters do. Okay.
And well, I'll say to Mike every once in a while, I'll be like, describe my expression. And he's like, you look fine to me. I'm like,
she looked fine.
She looked fine.
She looked finely
Her
across
facial
the
expression
room.
was fine.
But I'm like, because it always feels weird for me to say like the one, like when they lift like one side of their lips up. I never know if I should say lips or mouth. I mean, I don't know. Then I'm like, screw it. They shrug.
Like that's a smirk.
Is it the gaze?
Well, but it's not always a smirk thing. Sometimes, it's like they don't know what to think. I mean, I don't know. I think smirk is more like I have more power. I mean,
Or then like to me that's like a grimace.
Yeah,
like you're
but poor Mike.
she looks constipated.
I'm like, what's this? What am I doing? And he's like, I don't know. I don't read. I don't know these words. And I'm like, no, you're good with words. Well, that drives me nuts. There's again, somebody should write me and send me a book on like how to describe this stuff.
There you go.
Is there not like a facial whatever thesaurus? Right. I love the. Now I'm blanking on who was it like Becca Pug?
Yeah, all the
thesauruses. Yeah. I really do like those.
Facial features.
Well, and I know at one of our retreats from our past, an author wrote on the blackboard in one of the writing rooms was different words for like walking. And she was like, I got to come up different ways that they enter a room, and I'm just like.
Well, and then we had the other one who like, don't say strode. Like that. So now whenever I read strode, I'm like, oh, you're not supposed to say that. Because one author's had an issue with it. It's like the word moist for her, I guess.
I have a problem with musk. Oh. Because I don't ever associate musk, and I know musk and must are different, but I always associate musk with the smell that I wouldn't want to smell.
I've
only ever read it in mail stuff, so in that case it's okay.
I'm not good with the turgid
member
or the nipples. I'm like, again,
the turgid.
Yeah,
nipples?
I just read that last night in
I don't think I've ever turgid.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I had to look up what I thought it meant. Poking out hard straw. But I had to look it up because I'm like, I don't know. That doesn't sound sexy.
6-inch nipples coming out.
Well, and it's like it's 2 a.m. in there in his kitchen, and he's like got a raging hard on for this chick, and he grew up in foster care and was in the Army. Like, that's a word he would know. I mean, I'm just like, no, I don't think so.
Oh, she got boobs and I like them.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Her nipples are hard.
Oh my gosh.
I was just like, I don't know. To me, that's not even a sexy word, turgid. I mean, it sounds like a description of a turd.
Right. Yeah, because that the T-U-R in it.
Yeah, turgid.
Yeah.
Are you turgid?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Oh my.
Okay. I don't have anything to add to that.
You can tell us words you hate.
Well, don't say moist.
Wait, but this wasn't our word one.
I know it wasn't.
This was supposed to be.
Well,
what do you do when you're stuck?
And we don't mean in real life, so
So
don't admit to any felonies.
Marry, fuck, or kill.
No. How about just? Have you noticed what authors may use when you feel like they're getting slow?
Look at a smart girl.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, no, because I don't want to be like, yeah, my husband and I are bored, so we have naked Sundays. I would get those stories. I mean, I'm not against that. I just don't need to know that maybe.
Especially if I'm going to meet you and your husband.
5 words or less.
Okay. Until next time.
Okay.
So now we will talk about terms, words, finding
words,
things like
vocab,
like the things we put on paper.
Introduce us.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm the great Melanie Jane.
I'm Ava Cuvée, and I am all things space. The final frontier.
You didn't say you were spacey.
The tentacles. Okay, no, I'm actually kind of excited. So you doing the clapping thing for me? I'm like, oh my gosh, she knows my little happy energy. So I like it just kind of popped in my head, but I've been thinking it for a while. Like bloggers seem to like don't exist anymore. You're an influencer now, because I had someone approach my table and they were looking at the stuff, and then I
approach your table at the indie event that we were doing.
Yeah, and then she was very sweet and like flawless freaking makeup, like ridiculously, like it looked like it was airbrushed on. I wish I could do makeup that well. And she had like bookish earrings too, so it was like I complimented the earrings, and then that's when she's like, oh, I forget her name. She's like, I'm an influencer. And I'm like, okay. Because before I would always think as influencers, like, as trying to sell, their Amazon list, but very much I don't think.
How many TikTok followers do you need to have in order to be like influencer stage?
I think it can be just any, because it would almost be like when you are an aspiring author and you may have, written.
I think you self-proclaim you're an influencer, or you're a Bravo celebrity, and if you're on Bravo on one of their reality shows, you're instantly an influencer. They say so because they're all partnered with Amazon and like do their shopping lists. Yeah.
Well, hopefully we're all influencers in that, I influence, I don't influence my cat. Hopefully I influence my children, I influence my husband, I influence the people around me. So therefore I'm an influencer. I just think that's such a vague term because if you used to be a blogger, at least you had to write and upload to your website words that hopefully told a story or something like that, but an influencer doesn't mean you've done anything.
When I first started doing signings, I would get like 15 or 20 bloggers at my table wanting my books. Well, duh, that's how, oh my God, they're a blogger, they want my book, you give them a free book. Well, of course, anybody with a printer can make business cards, slip them in their pocket and stroll into a signing. So I was always like, okay, here's my card, email me your information and which book you want. But I caught on to that real quick, and like I was even like, oh, you shouldn't think that way. And it's like, you're getting taken advantage of. Anyone with a printer's a blogger. I mean, what a great scam.
And, well, I'm also kind of wondering, maybe now, because again, at the other times I've been to, is you get the book clubs that come in, but they actually they'll have a book club and then they post their reviews. So it's almost like bloggers have become influencers, and then the book clubs have almost become like the bloggers.
I think the book club has become the wine appreciators.
Have you been to my book club a couple of times? Because we usually end up with something about wine.
I did one virtual book club, and one of the ladies, to do this book club, I had to rewrite a book and take out the sex scenes, which I did as a favor to the person that wanted it. We went to, I don't know, Kinko's or whatever, and did the binding things, sent it to them. And one lady yelled at me the entire question answer period because she said that no mother would abuse their daughter. She found great
your character in the story.
Yeah, she found great fault with my story, and that was a lie. And how dare I? And and it was like,
you can watch the news and pretty much prove that.
So I decided at that point maybe book clubs were not a good match for me. I get yelled at virtually.
I have had some success with book clubs, some other not so successful ones. I think I would. This is how I'm going to get kidnapped. I think I would almost prefer to do the ones in person because, and I've done virtual and it's been okay, but I've also done virtual and I can't remember if I was logged in early or I didn't log out when they thought they did, and then I got to hear honest.
What they really thought?
And it was nothing bad. It was just one of those things where I'm like, hi,
still here.
I probably should have waited for that screen to go blank.
Oh my gosh.
And then the awkward. And I could have just logged off, but I wanted to make it weird because that's my thing.
Because they did first.
Well, I mean, I think the whole okay. I'm happy I'm getting old because I think this whole influencer thing is a crock of shit. I mean,
Well, no, I think it's just the term. Like, in another 20 years, it's going to be something else, but it's going to be so.
they're gonna be experts.
Well, here, okay, and I'm showing my age as well, because you can call yourself a pile of shit, but that doesn't mean you are. You can call yourself an influencer. That means nothing. First of all, that means nothing. Like my, what you're laughing.
I'm laughing because I'm like, I know plenty of people that say they're a good person and they're not.
Well, they're a pile of shit, right? So so here you say, oh, I'm an influencer. I was like, okay, good for you. What does that mean in your eyes?
Well, and that's so true because it's how the words are meant to be taken and then how they are taken so very much because we all know that, like, two readers don't read the same book. You read it.
Well, I guess as authors who do events, when they have the influencer VIP hour, I guess we probably should start asking like what's your Mendoza line for influencer, because let's be honest, the number of followers on TikTok means nothing. I mean, everybody can. I mean, you can work. You spend some time and get 1 million followers. I mean, okay, now if they have like 700 million followers, then I'll give them a crown. But I mean,
half of those would be bots anyway. But
or underage children from a foreign country. But I mean, it's just it's again, we're as a signing author, we take it that there was some research done or some like level they have to surpass, but I don't know.
I mean, you can just self-declare yourself an influencer over what? You're not telling me that your influence is specific to my romance book world. And I just like, what do you expect me to do if you're going to declare your innocence? Do I like get on my knees and start kissing your ass or what?
Well,
like, what does that mean? What does that mean to me?
Well, I know, and this is a long time ago, but Kristen Ashley attributed her success at the beginning to, she was on she's from Ohio, her name was Marie, and she had a blog, and the blog talked well about the Rock Chicks series. And then it took off and exploded. And Kristen Ashley attributed it directly to that blog. Okay, so I got to be on Maurice's blog once, and I was waiting for that it did not happen. But I think there are people that can trace back and say this is what pushed me. But I also think now there's so many options. What influencer influences whom? I mean, and all you have to do is listen to one bad piece of advice and. You're never going to listen to them again.
Just like our previous podcast.
You're never going to follow them again or care about what they did again. I mean, I know there's a mega reader that comes to RAGT, and we were real friendly years ago. She loved every book she read. I learned real quick. She read a lot of books. She remembered titles and authors' names, which I was really impressed. Yeah. But she loved everyone. None were bad. So it was like, yeah, she may love the book, but she doesn't not love every book. Right. So I only used her for like, what's the name of that book that, da-da-da happens. Time to start the killing, So, I mean, it's hard, and it's hard to know who to trust. But yeah, the influencer, I don't know. I'm just like, okay.
I'm going to put that on my resume now. Okay, other terminology that we need to clarify?
Oh, I'll throw it out. There's the famous spicy versus
sweet. Is it or clean?
Well, okay. Well, they call it clean. We call it sweet, spicy versus steamy. Like
spicy, steamy.
Spicy and steamy. Yeah.
Okay. So
I feel like I should just start being like, there's anal in this one and there's not anal in that one. And then, you tell me.
True story. I was at RT probably 2016. And at that time you could pitch your book. You went around tables of different publishers and you pitched your book. And it was a contemporary. I wasn't getting frustrated. I was just like, I knew that 99% of the people here did not give a shit about my book. The only one that did is when I lied to them and told them it was male. And it could be, I just changed your names. But so I ended up at Tor, and they're like, well, what would you say the heat level is? And I said, there's no anal. And they're like, oh. Yeah, I mean, like the word, saying the word anal out loud. These two women literally like paled, clutched the pearls, and almost had a heart attack. And and I was like, well, it used to be blowjob. Like if you had a blowjob and described it, that was like the raciest. I mean, that was really. I remember that. I was a teenager. It was hugely race. And then at that point there was a lot of erotic romance. So anal, any ass play, that was like a real dividing line. I'm thinking like, hey, I'm speaking to them like I'm, focused. I know the language. They still talk to my friend was behind me in this, changing of the chairs, and they're like, did you hear what she said? She said anal. And,
you're like, it doesn't have that in there.
Yeah, but I'm like, that's, to me, I was being very clear, but yeah. So spicy.
Spicy, steamy. Like I had somebody at the last event that asked me, I can't remember if she asked me my spice level or if there was like, and I was just like, like these, this one is, I didn't know what else to do. So they had sex, through the book. But, like then as I get to my more recent books, I'm like, it's got like the one sex scene, open door, spotlight, sex scene.
Where's the spotlight at?
on the naughty bits. And then I'm like, and you can kind of tell when it's going to happen. So if you need to skip over, and I'm like, everything else is just, just normal. And then I'm like, well, no, not really. Because my characters, I've got that heat building up to the open door sex scene. So you can't just, free and clear, anybody can read it. And then this chapter obviously is going to be the one, I'm just going to skip it.
If you don't want sex, read Amish. Look for the Amish people on the cover. That way you know.
Or inspirational, like Christian. Those are usually.
I always ask to get. If a reader asks that, I ask for a baseline first because I need to know what they think is, because I've had some people like, I don't really like to read any sex. I'm like, well, all of my books have open door. It just depends like how detailed.
Even if you were to pull that out, that was my thought. I was like, even if you were to skip the chapter where they're actually going at it, leading up to it, my characters are talking about, their attraction to each other is very physical and sexual based.
Well, and you have the readers that don't want to read the sex scene, okay, and then you have the readers that don't even want the characters to have premarital sex. So then you run that, then it's like,
I don't want them thinking, oh, I'd really like to have his cock in my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, and I wrote the Talk of the Town series on purpose as closed door. In book one, I think she gets French kiss. There's even like second base. I did. Poor Anna, she didn't get it any, and there's no cussing. In book 2, they're getting it in. It's just not talked about. And in book 3, you definitely know that they're having sex prior to marriage. Off page, yeah. But I have trouble with the whole clean, because to me, a clean book means it lacks mistakes. That's what clean means to me. It does not mean, because I mean, yes, sex can be dirty, but sex can, I don't think of it as dirty clean. I think, and then other people use the word sweet for no on-page sex, which to me, I have a book called The Change of Heart, which I think is probably it's a sweet story. I wrote it so that you smiled almost throughout it. There's a little girl that says funny stuff. There's a teenager that gets his life turned around. I mean, it's a very sweet story, but they have sex and they're swallowing. So, so now we're running into all these terms and all these things. And I wish someone would one influencer with a lot of influence, come up with the directory of words.
Well, even
and I think we talked about the levels of spiciness, but this sci-fi monster romance group that I'm in, they at one point tried to do the one chili pepper means this, two chili peppers means this. And it went from, no on-page sex, nothing, to like heavy petting, basically to anal. It was like, 3 or 4, sex scenes with, no holds barred. And I'm like, okay, you skipped like just the one sex, the one sex time. Like you went from heavy petting to like, balls to the wall. And I'm like, there's gotta be a middle.
Well, I just finished reading a book last night that there really wasn't any I would say penetrative sex. She was a virgin. He was not. He was supposed to be like the ladies' man. They did a lot of, oral on each other. And then, there was some of the, just the tip, and I'm like, okay, just the tip. We're going to go back to that now. Like, it doesn't count.
Right? Yeah, like
but,
that worked out for everyone.
But he wasn't ready to take the virginity yet. It was going to be just the tip and then like coming all over her ass.
Oh my God. Was the writer LDS? Because that's like the rumor that, LDS followers, they do anal because she can still be a virgin.
Well,
does that make sense?
Because there's no hymen breaking.
Right.
But where does that? No, because since there wasn't actually, but I mean, it was a very, I found it to be a very spicy read. But I mean, there wasn't any hardcore stuff. But I think it was just in the moment, there was so much sexual tension. Because for me, I feel like the spiciness goes more on the sexual tension of it, as opposed to how hard am I banging the headboard against the wall.
Right. Well, I like the cum queens, and when the guy, are you, or she saw, I'm a cum queen, and and these things, to me, that pushes it to a higher level. Sometimes what they claim, what their kink is, or what, that can push things that are innocent or accepted to a whole different stratosphere.
Female characters they say, yes, I am a
is the cum queen, is that self-explanatory? I don't need to ask what it is, because I don't think I've heard that before.
I guess my question is it just a woman who likes cum, or is it a woman who just comes so much?
Okay, no.
Okay, like sex.
In the book 3 of the Ruinous series, which is a real hot book talk, #1 book, she claims that, and then he's going to come all over her, and then they like to come and then stuff things to keep it in, and she wears it around, and she's calling herself a cum queen.
Is it this is my hair gel?
They did not go in. I'm sure that was part of it. It's just okay. And to me, in that specific book, what I found is he's a doctor, and he also does surgery. So I just kind of found that very kind of twisted of his personality, because he was pretty tightly laced, and then this is what he's into.
He has to be so clean, and everything he does professionally,
and his house is incredibly straight, and for an activity he crochets. I mean,
that makes sense to me. I mean, when you get into the BDSM, it's so often the men that want to be dominated are the ones that have to professionally be so in control that they want the.
I just thought okay, that series was not for me. I'm one of those that I just don't get it, so I'll shut up about it.
Oh, I thought that you had enjoyed it. That's why you were talking about the conference. I don't know. What other terminology do we need to? Because I can't think of anything. But that's because I know what I think it is.
Well, we touched a little bit on another episode of romanticy and how, but I think that so much within the readers, kind of just the spice level, it's what is. I've had people ask me to define contemporary or could define my contemporary, so I'm it just means that it's set it could be now, it could happen, it could be happening as we're talking right now, where I thought that was a pretty universal thing. But with romanticy, to me, it's a fantasy book that is romance heavy, because I feel even the male romance or fantasy authors, there's always a little bit of some sort of romance or sexual tension,
but they do it bad. It's always bad.
I mean, it might not be people that get together, but the fantasy books that I have read, and I haven't read a bunch, but I'm always shipping, a couple of characters, and will they or won't they,
So, and here's my definition of the romantasy is any of those ACOTAR, like, young adult to new adult characters with elves, or something that's a fantasy.
I think world building is a part of it.
Yeah.
There's always something other in the world building. Like either there's magic or there's alchemy or
And
they're
they're gonna be like hundreds of years old going
they're-
after the 16-year-old
they're
female protagonist who
and I think an element, and this is where I think it gets dicey, is there's usually what I would consider a paranormal element as far as like shapeshifters, goblins. Now, how's that not paranormal? Because paranormal romance has romance. Usually it's in a world that has magic and these characters. Oh yeah, and there's paranormal beings. So I'm not sure. I think it's the different covers.
Well, maybe. Well, and a lot of
I
times
think that I don't think you're too far off the mark with that. Yes.
for paranormal, it'll be like, it's happening in Canada or the United States or Australia. But in, romantasy, you have
A whole nother world.
Yeah.
Avalon.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've had
Yeah.
so
Or
I mean,
Avalonia.
And that's
the
not
world
even
building.
the other world. That's like the world that the protagonist lives in is also not the contemporary.
And I think too in the romantasy, in those worlds, they make up the rules as they're going along. So like you're sort of at the beginning, it's not, Indianapolis, Indiana, but from that point you don't know, and at any moment, but yes, the water there is yellow. Okay. Didn't know that, but it is now. And the sun is red.
or something.
You know.
I think in here because I don't read them. I just assume it's a lot of like Hunger Games, Divergent, kind of Chosen One. Protagonist.
Except, and then you're getting into like the I thought Hunger Games and Divergent, that series.
I wouldn't call
more
it
like I was gonna
romantic,
say more dystopian.
Yeah.
Which
I think
But again, the whole
Maze
concept of
Runner.
a whole different world.
right.
I think also because I think most of them to me are geared young adult or
New adult.
thank you, could be new adult. I think there is a big focus on the yearning. Either the build up or then when they're torn apart, the yearning, the pain of love. I mean, I think that could be one of the hallmarks. Not in every one of them, but I think there's usually like some big catastrophe that we have tears, a lot of tears.
Okay. Yeah, I don't. I think with
Oh man,
fantasy, with the fantasy versus the paranormal, I do think there is some definite crossover. And somebody, I forget who, defined it that fantasy is more like Lord of the Rings. And paranormal is more like I don't know, Twilight or something like that.
Well, I think now with the monster romances, now we have also another player in the game because so to me personally, I think paranormal. Sorry, people, don't come at me with pitchforks. I think it's shapeshifters and vampires and witches, paranormal, horror or monster, anything that falls. That's not that. And then we go on.
Well, so in sci-fi is kind of monsters in space because the whole monster romance is about the other and how many and what shape and what do it do dig. And so the sci-fi is also that as well. You got the sci-fi creature, who's got the double D or the whatever. So it's those two are kind of going hand in hand right now, as opposed to the sci-fi romance that I wrote, which is, like humans in space kind of thing with your obligatory alien, but he's still very bipedal, humanistic kind of thing. And it's, and you don't have to worry about, is it going to fit?
Was it Honey Phillips that had the series where it was like, it was like the Kraken and like the Space Hornet, and I read that and it was really like, it was so fascinating because it's like I really want to see what the guy looks like because like how is like the space hornet sexy because he like had a stinger and like the mandibles and
Well, they have like spiders and
Yeah.
and it's just like when you get into a carapace, is that how you pronounce it? Like the exoskeleton. How do we kiss? How do we like your boner is like now literally. You know,
well, and when they have like what is it like the sheath or like the nagas where it's all internal and
yeah,
it
it's
like
gotta come out. And there's
protrudes
two of
and
them, and yeah.
I'm like, okay, so there's no need for pants, so we can always be naked. But how is that? I don't
But
know.
it's a snake anyway down there, so
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
I
just
I find that when I read those, I have to like school myself beforehand. Don't think too hard. Don't think too hard.
oh yeah, like don't judge. Like, wait a minute, is this too long and is this too round? Because and how's it gonna fit?
I'm gonna say I think you made the comment one time where you were like, were you gonna do something with the snake? Because you were like looking up snake penis, and then I was like, well, I don't really know what one of those look like. So then I looked it up, and
well,
I was like,
so with
I don't know
with
if
my
I could-
octopus. It was like, well, I was like, I don't want it to be an octopus penis because that's like its eighth tentacle, and I'm like, I wanted something.
You just
down there.
didn't
So
go
then,
to a
like, how
science teacher at one of those schools you're working
yeah,
at to go be like,
totally
hey,
looking at
how do snakes
on the
have
school
sex?
Wi-Fi, like, what does an octopus penis look like? How do dolphins have sex? Yeah.
But well, it also, you know, I also wonder sometimes. Like we're told, yeah, it's fiction. You know, you can do it, but there are also a lot of people that actually depend on this. Like that's where they base their knowledge of snakes. You know, are on the monster romance. So you know, yeah.
They probably also think that in dark romance, that's really how love is.
Well, when you meet your bratva, you know, Russian that mainlines vodka, sure.
There was I don't know if it was on Reels or if it was TikTok, but it was talking about how unrealistic book boyfriends are versus like real men. And they're like, oh, well, don't you want your like alpha, you know, like male? And the woman was like, no, because the alpha male's never going to empty the dishwasher. And then it's like, well, don't you want the, you know, like the suave billionaire hitman? And she's like, no, because I highly doubt he's going to scrub the toilet. And I'm like, oh, you know, this is actually,
Yeah.
Well, and
and it made me want to write, you know.
I will admit, I've never read the Lord of the Rings, and I think I've seen like maybe 5 scenes from the movies. That's not my thing, but it's my understanding, and I could be wrong, that in fantasy, they have rules in their world, and like, I mean, I joked because my grandparents on our farm have 3 iron gates, so I'm like, they must have worried about the fae.
Oh, yeah.
And like only some people got the joke, but like that's a hallmark is that
The iron mix,
iron and fae do not mix, and that's how you defeat them. So you know, it's like, yeah, and also, but in romantasy, I mean, I think there's also more looseness with what the rules coming from the woman that makes the moon not affect werewolves. So chain is shifting. So you know, I have room to talk.
But you know what the rule is that you chose to break.
Yeah.
So
I explain I'm breaking it. I let them know up front.
yeah. No, and I think a lot of that difference has to do with the world that they build, and it's not our world. It's another world. So yes, you've got to build that whole, you know, that whole society, that whole culture. And sometimes you have to like make those rules up as you go, because now we, you know, like, oh, and now my characters are in this situation. How can I get them out of it? This is what's going to happen.
They become a conjurer. They have a friend that's
They're a
and they
conjurer.
conjure. Well, for me, some of these romantasy books are cause me some problems, because when I started paranormal writing, the first thing with my editor was her questions were always like, what does it smell like? What does it feel like? What do they look like when they're performing it? You know, so I need a foundation, and it can't just be willy-nilly. I mean, there has to be, you know, like when Theo's using her psychic abilities, it feels like a mosquito's buzzing against your skin, you know, so things like that. And I find like it just in a lot of the few I've read, I haven't read a whole lot, but they're like, oh yeah, you know, like no explanation,
Yeah,
no
you can't
nothing, just like suddenly they, okay.
Which is bad world building. So my issue is, and I've done the, you know, Amazon sponsored books that like, oh, you know, I like the
the cover or whatever, and then I go look it up and do the 10% read. I'm like, don't world build dump. Like, if you have to spend the first 20 pages explaining the world to me, or throwing a bunch of sci-fi weirdo names out in the first 5 pages, my eyes have crossed and I've gone on. Like, you need to learn how to build that world in a sprinkle the information around, but keep the pace moving kind of way. And so many of them don't.
I mean, to me, if you must dump, then do it in a nice, artfully designed by an artist, sort of like picture of their world, like, what it looks like. But, don't just start telling me and running down the list. And all the different, especially in the sci-fi, and I'm not a huge sci-fi reader that sort of pushes, like, I don't grasp things, but all the weird names, like, could we not always have like J's and Z's in words? I mean, that doesn't make them.
And I do that too, but the apostrophe, like,
it doesn't necessarily
my own name in the head.
Yeah, I just call it, or the dude, the good dude, the chick.
I just know it's that guy.
But it's like, I think sometimes people turn lazy and do like these shortcuts and these things, thinking it builds it up, where it really tears it down and cheapens the product.
That makes me wonder, because I mean, Amazon has a whole category of, like the quick reads, the 2-hour reads, and then you had Vella, which was, like a chapter at a time, and that's kind of going away. But you still have platforms like Radish. Is it Radish?
Yeah.
And there's a couple of
Wattpad.
Yeah. So I wonder if, that kind of is influencing the shorter reads, which is hard to do. And my small little tangent, we haven't touched on urban fantasy. Like, we've been talking about paranormal and romantasy. I cannot remember the last time I've even heard urban fantasy like being tossed out as,
I think there was so much confusion about what it was, and even by some authors that were classified as that, they seem confused, like why they were in that category. That I think it's just sort of gone by the wayside, because nobody knew what it was.
Paranormal, right? Because so I wonder if that's kind of where the tick up of like romantasy is coming in, because I always thought urban fantasy was like the contemporary version of paranormal, like it could be happening.
See, I always thought urban fantasy was like the post-apocalyptic scenario.
Okay, so at one point I read a definition because I wasn't sure where seamy could go. And it typically has a kick-ass female heroine. It does take place in an urban setting, meaning city, not an African American part of a neighborhood. It also it is definitely, it is not behind the times. It's contemporary, or can even be forward, and it has physical action.
Okay.
That sort of makes it the urban, but it, I think there are arguments for certain books that you would be like, that's urban fantasy, and oh no, it's paranormal, because there can, in urban fantasy, there can be ghost witches. What's the one? The Hallows, Cincinnati, the tomato.
With Kim Harrison. Yeah.
I always define it as the tomato. The tomato caused the ruination of humans. Witches survived. They were poisoned. Witches, though, were immune. But that, I think, was always considered an urban fantasy, but I think other people, and maybe her publisher, kept pushing it back to paranormal, because there were shape-shifting witches,
there's fays in there, because you've got Trent, and Jinx is a pixie.
A pixie, that was where, Jinx, and when his wife dies. Oh my God, I'm still consumed with that.
Well, that's so heartbreaking, because I mean, when he got to be like a regular adult size, it reset his like pixie life cycle. So
it's fun because it takes place in Cincinnati, and you do kind of recognize it.
What book is this?
It's Kim Harrison, the Hollow series. I think.
Okay.
You probably read a short story in that world and not even known
I
it.
feel like most of the books kind of seem like they're a play on words of like Dirty Harry movies sometimes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and Ivy
Because
the
it's
vampire, and the vampires in it,
Okay.
and the vampire was the president, right, at one time. I think.
I don't know. It's been a while since I've read any of the Hollows, so
Yeah,
specific details are going to be fuzzy.
but yeah. But I hadn't thought about urban fantasy. God.
Yeah, so urban fantasy, if it's only in a city and it's got the fantasy elements, then I think it would definitely be an easy paranormal crossover, unless there's some societal breakdown kind of.
Well, I think, and what you were kind of like hinting at is, I think any paranormal authors of color were getting dumped into the urban fantasy section
Okay, yeah.
for maybe no other reason than
Yeah.
Well,
that.
I know the story of an author that we all know that her book had a mixed race couple, and she put it in urban fantasy because she was urban.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, again, words can mean different things to different folks. I guess
This is true.
Yeah.
Do you have any words that you need, explain to audience?
I don't know what a cock is.
Well, I mean, okay. So there are boy chickens, and they could be called roosters, or sometimes they're called cocks.
Oh, okay. I know that. I know what I'm.
So when somebody said they want me to see their big black cock, I'd be talking about their chicken.
Oh, our new chicks are gonna be their black sex links.
Ooh.
That is a chicken breed.
Okay, I know one. Double penetration. I've run into in the last months that trigger warning had double and it wasn't what I thought it was.
There, Chinese finger puppet penetration.
Or a finger in the butt while you're getting fucked in the pussy.
No, we're talking two penises in the vagina at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I did.
Oh.
I thought it
Well,
was.
I mean,
I thought it was vaginal and anal.
I thought so,
it was
too.
double. But anyway, apparently,
I don't think I've ever read that in a book.
okay. Well, I can tell you a
I
couple.
have seen it in porn.
I have spent a lot of time pondering that.
That's a really good question, because I would not consider that double penetration, because you're only penetrating one hole no matter how much you're sticking in it.
But it's double dicks.
Double dick, right? But you know what? We have, so going back to the monster romance, you've got lots of monsters and aliens that have double dicks, but they're not tagged as double penetration.
But I consider that double. I mean, in my mind, that's what I label it as, but
That's
I'm
a
not.
twofer. It's a BOGO.
Well, the first time I ever came upon this, there was not a lot of description on how they managed it, whose what was where and how, and I spent days trying to.
Are you in the male POV at this point, or the females? Because I'm almost curious. I think the male side of that would probably be a more fascinating sensation.
Especially if they're not.
They were
If they're straight.
A throuple.
If they're straight men.
No, they were a throuple and all active with
With each other.
intermingling.
Okay.
But and they did it so that she would be impregnated by them at the same time.
You couldn't have done like one and then the other. And
Well,
just
and this took
let the fastest
this
sperm
takes
stay
place in the future, so I don't know. But it got very confusing, and so oh my god. So then I meet up with one of the authors at an event. I'm like, how does this work? I mean, I'm like, you gotta. I'm sorry, this.
Would you draw me a picture?
My life has stopped. I can't move on until I know this.
I'm glad that, because I have those problems too, and I know for the author that is writing this story, it's probably just like a smaller detail, but I'm so hung up because I can't wrap my mind around it, and I know it's fiction.
You have to have Delilah Devlin as your editor because she calls my ass on the carpet, and it's like, tell me how this could work unless they have a fourth arm. Tell me how you get this to work. And that's why the story of me with my dog, not sexing, but anyway, come into
you
play.
Didn't have your art figurines to manipulate.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah.
Maybe we should almost buy her a blow-up doll, and then she could tell the story that she has. She has
She has to
a blow-up doll she can.
Well, it just, but yeah, I mean, I could not figure out how they did. And then after she explained it to me, I still don't think, I don't know how he can breathe. I mean,
I'm honestly more impressed that you got down on the floor with Duncan and were able to get back up.
No, it was-
that to me is the miracle.
I was younger then.
Okay.
I was younger, and it was Buster Brown. I was more flexible.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, and I think in a prior life we had been lovers because it felt
it's
normal.
when you add that in, that's where it gets awkward.
Yeah, but
Maybe stop.
yeah, I take that back. We'll just have like quiet time during this part, and my lips are moving, but just like.
All right.
Oh, well, I think I was even trying to wrap us up by asking, if our audience had any,
And then we got
any terms that they wanted to define that they could put in the comments or, send an email to us. I'm always,
Let us
because,
No bestiality questions.
well, that's like a no-go. Like, that's no, I'm never going to hurt an animal in any way, sexually, physically, mentally, in my books. Or in real life.
You're not secretly undressing them with your eyes.
I don't know.
secretly shaving the fur off.
I was scrolling through Reels the other day, and they had one where it was like one of those hairless cats, and they're like holding it up, and then it was like boom, and then all of a sudden like it's in a little bikini with like a bunch of bra parts, and then it was off, and I was like, this is weird, but.
And again, if you read monster and alien romance, sometimes you do have to shave them. So
Yeah. Okay.
All
We'll just end on that note.